Hi, this is Margo. This is Sunday evening, July 17th, 2022. I hope everyone is safe and doing as well as possible. I'd like to welcome everyone to the show today. This will be my weekly update that I'll be putting on YouTube. We're going to be going over methane, sea ice, climate-related items for the week. And I just can't believe how fast this year is going, how fast this summer is going. We made it through another week. It's just spinning. I just feel dizzy from it. I know a lot of people do. So I'm going to start out tonight. I don't have any articles to share. We're just going to go over data. So tonight, starting on Climate Reanalyzer here, and this is maximum temperatures around the world for today. We can see it's all greens over the Arctic, meaning these are all temperatures above freezing, and the sea ice is coming apart. Greenland, oh my gosh, Greenland is in high melt. It's awful what's going on up there. Here, where you see the whites, that's about around 40 C or around 100 degrees Fahrenheit or higher. You can see it from the tip of Texas all the way up to the Canadian border, through the U.S. and throughout the West out here, from Arizona through California, Nevada, and so forth. And it's coming up through Portugal, Spain, France, and all across northern Africa, Saudi Arabia, Iran, and then look up to Kazakhstan, and this is southern Russia right in here. So, and India, so it's not looking good. We've got some whites over the interior of South America too. Here's 2-meter temperature anomaly today, and we've got browns along this Russia coastline next to the Kara Sea and all the way down into the Atlantic. This north part of Greenland is in the brown, and so forth. And Europe, this whole Europe area is in the brown, and UK, and then a lot of browns over Canada and the US, with blues right next to it where the cold air is swooped down. And in the Antarctic, we've got reds. We've got red over the Weddell Sea. There's also an ozone hole right there. You'll see when we look at ozone. Worldwide, we're up 0.3 C, higher than normal. Northern Hemisphere is up 0.6 C. The Arctic is up 0.4 C. The Antarctic is down 0.7 C. Southern Hemisphere is at 0, meaning it's in balance. The tropics are up 0.2 C. Here's precipitation and clouds. We've been getting rain across different parts of the Arctic on the ice this week, and we're seeing rain on this upper east side of Greenland and also on this southwest side. Iceland has rain. Svalbard, and see there's rain right on the coastline. Canada and here at the Beaufort Sea. So it's coming farther north. It's also raining here in the Barents Sea. It's raining all along Norway, and there's the flat view. We had some Arctic earthquakes today. We'll look at those in a second. Here are the jet loops. It's not a stream anymore. It broke last summer, about a year ago. And since it broke, it's just getting weirder looking. And we can see these weird loops. And there's no stream. It's just a weird snaky pattern. No rhyme or reason. And we'll look at this more in detail on sea ice and snow cover. We'll look at this when we go through our slideshow. But you can see it's diminishing around the edges. And where you see the little darker, it's actually coming apart. We'll be able to see quite a bit of open water when we look at NASA Worldview. Now fasten your seatbelt for this one. This is sea surface temperature anomaly. This is updated to yesterday, and this looks awful. It goes up to 6C higher than normal. I'm thinking they're going to have to up this chart. We've got a lot of areas in that light pink, especially here in the Kara Sea, and here in the Arctic, where it's already melted out. It's just warming up really fast. There's methane coming up around this coastline, this Russia coastline as well. We can see here in the Laptev Sea, it's moving from brown into red. And here in the Chukchi Sea, brown, Bering Strait, all around Alaska. And look at this North Baffin Bay. This is awful. See the browns up there? So that's about 4C higher than normal. This whole Hudson Bay region is heating up into reds and pinks. Most of this is melted. And then look at this around this North America coastline. And I've been real concerned about this Kamchatka area and this North Pacific. We'll look at that in a second. Here's the flat view. Here's this Mediterranean. It's kind of staying reddish brown. And these seas in, Black Sea, it's in the brown. Caspian Sea, it's turning brown. Persian Gulf is pretty brown. Here's the Baltic Sea, it's brown. And then, let's get it. This is more of a Pacific view here. Let's see if we can get it kind of centered. No, we've got two choices, okay. So here in the North Pacific, kind of in the middle of the ocean, we've got this blob that's it's huge, and see, it's got browns and reds and goes up into pink. And then look at this area around Kamchatka. On the east side it's reds, and on the west side of this Oco Sea. It's up into the pinks all the way to the coastline, and this has been getting hotter and hotter this year, and I don't know why this is exactly. I know that they were going to start dumping more radioactive waste into the Pacific Ocean from Fukushima. I don't know if that has taken place, and if so, if that's causing this to heat up here or what. If anyone has any ideas about this this extreme heat in the ocean around Kamchatka, just leave it in the comments below. But this really has me concerned. This is definitely not good. So worldwide, we're up 0.4 C higher than normal, along with the North Atlantic. The Northern Hemisphere is up 0.6 C, and the North Pacific is the winner. It's up 0.7 C. Now that's a little lower. A couple of days ago it was up 0.9 C. Southern Hemisphere is up 0.2 C, and the Equatorial Pacific is down 0.3 C. And that's this blue area, the Equatorial Pacific. It's below normal. So, not much area below normal. Now we'll move on to methane. I have 2 days worth of NOAA methane data to share, the 15th and the 16th. So here we are for Friday the 15th in the morning for the MET-OP-B or MET-OP-1 satellite, and we're tracking this 469 millibar reading. That's about halfway up in the atmosphere. The mean or average was 1927 parts per billion. The high reading was 2396. See, the pinks are coming all the way to the coastline here in the Arctic. In the afternoon, see, it jumped up to 1929. The high reading was 2356. And then for Saturday the 16th, the mean in the morning was 1928. The high reading was 2317. And in the afternoon, see, it jumped up to 1930. And I think that's the highest we've seen this year for this reading, and the high reading was 2342. So we are in the heating season for methane. We are on the rise. So this week, so for the 16th, that averages out to be 1929 parts per billion. That gives us an increase this week of 2.5. Here we can see the blue line going up. And we're 9 parts per billion higher than a year ago. We're 59.5 parts per billion higher than March the 1st of 2019, over here at the beginning of the chart, when I started tracking all of this. So this year it's just been a slow start out, but I think we're going to start seeing some pretty good spikes here as the summer progresses. So let's see what happened this week. Here we are on the 9th, which is where we were in our show last week. we were at 1926.5, and it had gone down overall 1 part per billion in my show last week. Then on Sunday it went down another half, or 0.5. Monday, no change. Tuesday it went up 1 part per billion. Wednesday it went up 1. Thursday it went down 0.5. Friday it went up 0.5. And then Saturday it went up 1, giving us an overall increase this week of 2.5. So you can see some stair-stepping, and that it's on the rise, and we're 9 parts per billion higher than this time a year ago. And I've seen some stories, scientists are saying, we're now with almost at runaway methane, and I think we've kind of been at runaway methane for a while. When you see that each year it goes higher than the year before, and then when it goes low, it doesn't go as low as the year before. So that's an increase, and we have all these positive reinforcing feedback loops that has all of this kind of baked in the cake. And as the temperature rises and more wildfires around, then that sets up a lot more methane release with the thawing permafrost and the whole thing. And then of course then you've got the sea ice that's going away, and the whole thing with the methane and the sediments coming up, and it's everywhere, in addition to what the man-made methane. And so what I talked about with the thawing permafrost and then the coming up from the sediments, that's not man-made. That's as a result of what's going on. The climate collapse. It's not climate change, it's climate collapse. So there's that. Now we'll move on to CAMS. This is the Copernicus Atmosphere Monitoring Service website. They're out of the EU, and we're going to look at Saturday the 16th, Arctic view, and surface level here. And here's our color ledger at the bottom. So the data is for Saturday, and forecast period is Sunday through Wednesday. So we've got some out of control methane here at Combs-Mollets. I mean, once it came back, it didn't take it long to just go ballistic here. Look at this. This is by Tuesday and Wednesday. And also in this North Kara Sea. This is terrible. And why is no one reporting on this area? The only reason I can think of is, now this is part of Russia, we know that, but, if this is part of the military operations or military land, then it would be top secret, and they would only release what they would want to be released. And I don't know. Okay, I had to pause. So I'm back. Had a coughing fit. So, you know, this is just awful what's coming up there. And then if we look next to Norway and see it's coming up in this Barents Sea, then across Russia. See, that's filling in. And our problem spot here in the North Atlantic keeps bubbling. And then Alaska, the fires are still burning there. The smoke is not as bad as it has been. I'll show y'all that too. This just takes the cake. This here it comes to Mollets. There was an earthquake not too far from here today. And now we'll look at the North Pole view. Getting a late start tonight. Here we can see the northern hemisphere. And the UK, Ireland, all the way over to Germany. See, it's just a big blob. That's just awful. And this North Sea, and then it just engulfs all the way up to Norway. It's this whole region. Look at this. Same day as when Komsomolets is going crazy. And Persian Gulf is filled up. Here's India, China, here's Korea. And see, it's spilling over the coastlines heavy. And now here in North America, here it's heavy below Hudson Bay, and this area in western Canada, that's where the tar sands are. And then here in the US, the usual blobby places. This whole upper Midwest is like a constant. See, and then all the way across to the eastern seaboard. See the waves moving off of North America coming across, and then we've got these green waves just kind of milling around. These green waves, that's a sign of high methane. We can see the background color getting higher, going up to a more lighter green and into yellows as well, instead of the darker greens. And now we'll look at the Antarctic. Now the last couple of weeks we've been seeing our background color, our main background color being overtaken by a higher reading now. So instead of the 1840, now we're seeing mainly 1860. See this lighter, and it's got more of a greenish tinge. And then we've got some 1880 streaming in as well. So that's another sign that, you know, it's just going up all around the planet, not just in one place. And now the global view. With that higher background color, that's kind of, we can't see what's coming up around the coastlines of the Arctic now, because it kind of all blends in. Here's Australia. Let's see. Look at this popping up in the interior. Wonder what that's from. I wonder if that's from maybe oil drilling. See, right there. I'm used to seeing it around the edges, but I'm not used to seeing it pop up higher like that in the interior. Now we'll look at 500 HPA. Look at this. So here's the heaviest from China over to India. We've got some heavy spots. See up here around Russia coastline, in the interior, and over here. This is in the Laptev Sea. Now here's Novaya Zemlya. So this is Severnaya Zemlya. So that's where the Komsomolets billowing is. Then some heavy over the Scandinavian area. Look at how the yellow is overtaking. It's like a, you know, this yellowish tinge on the green. So this is a higher reading coming in all the way in the bottom part. And now total column. Here's China, where it's heavy. India. Here's Persian Gulf. Then the reds all the way across there. So there's that. Now I want to go over the rest of these pictures now. Now here's the smoke today. We've got an Arctic view. Here it is in Russia. So these are fires. This is southern Russia here. Or, yeah, coming down towards China there. and the smoke coming up. Here's Alaska. You can see that's gone way, way, way down. And now we've got fires that are burning here across Canada, with smoke coming across all the way across to the Atlantic. And see this smoke coming across this archipelago, and smoke over the ice here. It's also reached to Greenland, and here it is over the Baffin Bay. So this is a very bad sign, because with the smoke over the ice and over Greenland, those particles and particulates and the ash, they're falling down on the ice, and so making it less reflective, and also so it's soaking up more heat, and so it'll melt faster. So that's not good. Here's sulfur dioxide today, and look at kind of this weird blob around Kamchatka. I'm not sure how much of this is volcano related. I think most of it is from the high ocean temperature, and it's just coming up from the ocean. Let's see. It's hard to tell. We have it's just a higher spot right here on the island. That's probably volcanic. But this other, I'm thinking it's coming up from the ocean. This is 500 HPA. Here's the ozone over the Antarctic, and we can see the aqua hole over almost all of the Weddell Sea here. And the sun is coming up. It's about at this tippy point of this western peninsula now, but it's still quite thin over the interior. Here's the Arctic ozone. We can see holes forming right next to the North Pole, and here in the North Kara and Barents Seas. And when you have high methane or high sulfur dioxide, or both, or either or, you'll have a breakdown in the ozone layer. And we're seeing a breakdown here across Russia. You see the greenish tinge all the way across as well. Also across the US here. Here's the global view, and this aqua patch is just kind of hanging out just south of Indonesia and northwest of Australia. And see how far up the greens are coming now. Anything with a greenish tinge, it's thinner than it should be, thinner than healthy. Solid yellow, that's 300 Dobson units, and that's considered to be average or good, and then it goes up into the reds as it gets thicker. Now, here's we'll look a little bit closer at earthquakes in a little bit, but I did take a few pictures today. There were 284 today, a little bit earlier when I took these. Look at all this movement. these are lot, like these big dots are 5s and then 4s. A lot of movement on all these red lines. I think this was a 5.6 near Easter Island. We have, I think that's a 4 something in the South Shetland Islands. That's at the western tip of the Western Peninsula in the Antarctic, and then South Sandwich Islands has another one. And then we've got a couple of Arctic earthquakes. We've got one here in the Greenland Sea. And this one, this is not too far from the North Pole. So here's our close-ups. This is a 4.5 north of Severnaya Zemlya. So if you just flip how we were looking at this on cams, so here's Komsomolets. Here's where the methane's billowing up. And then the red line, this is the tectonic plate line. This was, it doesn't say how far north. It looks like a couple of hundred, maybe 2.5, 300 miles. I don't know. But it's getting close to the North Pole. It's 85 north. Almost 85. It's 84.9. So that came in, 4.5, came in today at 11:02 this morning, Pacific time. And then this one, 4.6 in the Greenland Sea, came in today at 9:40 this morning. And we're going to see more and more of these Arctic earthquakes as we have a shifting of weight on the tectonic plates with the ice, especially with this ice sheet on Greenland. It's already melted a lot this year, and so it's not, it's shifting the weight, and so it goes up and down, and so the plates will move and cause earthquakes. Now this was interesting to me at Hawaii. We're seeing 31 here today. These are centered around Pahala, but look at this huge cluster where it's gone further south in the ocean. We've seen this before, and this is like underwater stuff going on. That's all of those. Close that one too. Now we'll move on to sea ice. And I have my slideshow. This is from Climate Reanalyzer for this week with sea ice and snow cover. And this is what their model is showing today. And this is pretty accurate with how it corresponds with the other models that I follow. And so they've been updating it this week. We can see the Hudson Bay is almost all melted out, just a little bit at the bottom. Baffin Bay is almost all melted, and especially up here at the top. Now that's where we saw some of that warmer water. And look at this Northwest Passage. This is shocking to see how much of this is open. And the ice will just, it'll be exiting right through all of that. And then this east side of Greenland is whittling down. Here's the east edge of the ice. We can see Novaya Zemlya is open. Kara Sea is open now. Well, the North Kara Sea still has a little bit. And the area around Svalbard is getting larger with open water. And you can see the darker color. That means that it's not as concentrated, where it's melting and coming apart. And then here in the Laptev Sea, it's huge areas have already melted out all the way past this New Siberian Islands, and this little ear is going in. And then around the Siberia coastline, that's already melted. This isn't high melt in the Chukchi Sea. Bering Strait is open, and around Alaska and Canada, this Amundsen Gulf, this is, or bay or whatever this is, look at how open that is. And all the way down, see, it goes along the Canadian coastline. This is one of the Northwest Passage routes. That's open, just a little bit of ice there. There's that. So let's see what happened this week. Now here we were last Sunday, and remember we saw this weird hole only in this model, not in any of the others. And so they fixed that. See, they fixed that the next day after my show. So I think someone from Climate Reanalyzer is watching my shows too. See, no evidence of a hole there on the 11th. I thought that was kind of amusing. Here's the 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, and then today. So kind of a big change today in this Northwest Passage area. Now we'll move on to these other models. This is from the U.S. Navy Arctic sea ice thickness. This is for today. And color chart is on the right, and it goes from white, which is 0, and gray is 0, obviously, to light lavender is 0.5 meters thick. Dark lavender or dark purple is about 1 meter thick. The dark aqua is about 1.5 meters thick. The bright aqua is about 2 to 2.5 meters thick. Green is 3 meters thick. Yellow is about 3.75. Bright red is about 4.5. And dark red is 5 meters thick or so. So you can see we don't have much after the aqua. We don't have much green and above. So let's start down here. Here's the little fringe of ice left in the Hudson Bay. Here's our Baffin Bay. You can see the white. That's just wispy, like maybe little pieces of ice that just haven't quite melted. and here's Svalbard. We can see this east edge. Look how thin that is. And here's the Kara Sea. And here's the Laptev Sea. And here's the ears where it's opened up. And here's along the coastline. And here's where it's breaking up in this Chukchi Sea. And here's the Beaufort Sea. And it's, you'll see, it's really just started breaking up here. And here in this Amundsen Gulf, look at this. Look at all the white all the way down. So that's open. I mean, I would call that open with just that little fringe, kind of purplish. And so we've got a lot of purples and lavenders in here and these tributaries. Look how this thicker ice is just coming down. And got a little bit of green left here above Ellesmere Island. Then we've got aquas and a little sliver of red along Greenland and along Ellesmere and right down here. Really thin. Let's see, quadrant 1. That's going to go, this whole area in quadrant 1 is going to go fast. So, let's see, here's the 30-day animation. This was updated to Friday. So the data goes back 3 weeks and the forecast goes out to next Friday. So let's see what they're showing. Just, you know, in 30 days, I mean, just the amount of melt is just breathtaking when you see it. Starting out in aquas, going down to nothing in some places is just, it's really breathtaking. And we're in high melt. It melts really fast in July, and then in August it starts slowing down, and then it reaches minimum usually around mid-September. We'll see. You know, it might keep melting after mid-September. So here we are at the end of the model on the 22nd. And see, lots of whites showing up here. So, you know, this is probably this circular area right in here is probably all going to go in the next 2 weeks. Of course, it's melting in as well and thinning and running out. And here we've got whites showing up in the Beaufort Sea. So that's coming apart. That's where you see the white, that's going to be open water. Got a little bit of thicker ice left here in this East Siberia Sea. So this year, it looks like most of this Beaufort Sea is going to melt out. The last couple of years, it was more of a tail that came out that hung on, but I don't see that tail this year. So it looks like this is gonna end up coming down to just a mound. What we'll have left at the end of the summer will be right along here, Greenland and Canada, and then a lot of open water, slushy pieces of ice, and slushy and not very good. And they updated the Beaufort Sea model after my show last week where I said they hadn't updated it. And so here we are for today, the 17th. And here's Alaska at the bottom, that's open. Here's a little bit of area with some aqua ice. And here's Canada. We've got a little bit of reds showing up, but not much. And here's this Beaufort Sea. You can see how it's thinned down. So when we run this, you'll notice a jump. They have about a few days of missing data, and it jumps, I think, about 5 days. That was where they didn't have any data, so for whatever reason. But it is updated to today, so the forecast goes out to next Sunday. So we'll stop it. Here we are. Here we are for next Sunday. See the whites. That's going to be coming apart really fast now. See, it's pulled away from the coastline here. All this white down here. Now we'll hop down to the Antarctic. This is for today, sea ice thickness. And here we're tracking the refreeze. And it's thickening here in the Ross Sea. See the going into the dark blue. A little bit of thicker around the coastlines. Here in the Weddell Sea, we can see it's thickening. But remember, last week I showed it was pulling away from the ice shelf here. And I didn't understand that. But that's just what it's doing. We're also tracking A76 iceberg that's out here right at the edge of the sea ice. And we'll take a look at that tonight too. It broke off of this Weddell ice shelf in May of last year. So we've been watching that on his journey. It's about to be free. And then we can see a little fringe coming out on the extent. Here's our 30-day animation, and this was updated to Friday, like the Arctic. So the forecast goes out to next Friday. Now watch here. See it pulling away? That's just weird to me. I don't know. So it's still inching out. And just gradually thickening. There's that. Now we'll move on to National Snow and Ice Data Center. And this is their latest data is from yesterday, the 16th. This is the Arctic sea ice concentration, and wherever you have blues, that's where it's melting. And the darker the blue is, the higher the melt is, the more it's already coming apart. This brown line, that's the median, and that's where the median for where they like it to be, but you know, we're pretty well below that. And see this area just north of the North Pole, this is really in bad shape. And when we go to NASA Worldview, you'll see large areas of open water, and this ice is just in very bad shape. So it's right up here where the earthquake happened today, right around up here where it's melting so much. Here's the chart for Arctic sea ice extent. The blue line is this year, the dotted line is 2012. We were running kind of parallel with 2012. It looks like it's kind of not going down as fast. Not as straight down, it's kind of curved. Still melting, but not on the same trajectory. It's still well below the median. Here's the Antarctic, and again the brown line is the median, so we're under that. The blue line is this year, the green line is last year, the gray line is the median. Last year, see, it started its refreeze early and kind of had a record year on refreeze. Look at this year, and it's kind of stalling out here. It's kind of flattening out, not as high up on the angle there. Here's Greenland. This is yesterday. I'm tracking this daily now. And there had been some rain up here and the smoke, so that doesn't help matters any. And so look, this whole northern part is in melt, and this west side coming across almost all of the coast, I mean the edges, not the coast, but the edges of the ice sheet is in melt today or yesterday. This is awful. This is the most melt that they've seen in one day. Look at this. I'll show you in a second. And here are the cumulative melt days for this year. And we can see more melting north now. Look at this. So this is for yesterday, and look at the spike. And so it's it's melting at about 33% right now. And the blue dotted line is the median. So this is terrible. This is just very bad for Greenland. And that's all of those. Now we'll move on over here to NASA Worldview. We're going to start in the Antarctic. It's still dark down here. Here's the Western Peninsula. Our A76 is right down here. It's still in the dark, just barely. I'm thinking it's going to be in sunlight within a couple of days. At least part of it. So I turned on the nighttime layer. Here's the Western Peninsula. Now look at this. This is the Larsen Sea ice shelf. And see the sea ice. Look at how far out it is from the ice shelf. Normally it refreezes all the way up, but it didn't this year. So our A76 is right up here. Well, it's kind of hard to see. Sorry, it's right up here. It's under it. There we go. Right here. See, it's almost free. There's a lot of open water on this right side, and the ice that's there is just not much. See, it's just not much ice, and it's got momentum. And right now, it's mainly turning back to the left. And there's the edge of the sea ice. And it's out past these last few islands on this Western Peninsula. So it's ready. It's ready to go. So we'll see what it did this week. Alright, here we were last Sunday. See, it was more straight up and down. And so as we watch it, it turns. It's kind of moving up and rotating to the left or counterclockwise. Here's the 14th, 15th. 16th. See the shift there? And then it's kind of hard to see it here because it's under a cloud. But it's there. It's right in here. Now this is a cut and paste. Maybe they, I don't know. It's somewhere in there under the cloud. So this has been exciting watching that one. And then another kind of shocking thing down here. You see this break, the ice broken up. This is at the glacier. Thwaites Glacier, and see it's broken off. and this tongue is all broken up. See how it's broken up there. So that's not good. And this model, kind of hard to see everything today. Some days it's really clear, other days it's not. You never know. Let's see if we can look at the Brunt ice shelf. It's right over here. Let's see. Right in here. There it is. See, it's got ice all the way up to it. Here we are today. A lot of clouds. So this Weddell Sea, this is where the ozone is thinnest, too, with the aqua hole. So there's that. Now we'll move on. Let's move back up to the Arctic. Here we are. Not as much smoke, but it's done its damage. And we'll turn on our sea ice concentration layer. We'll turn off the clouds. Here we are. Here we are today. Wherever you see the colors, it's melting. So where you see like yellow and green, that's holes in the ice. Look, it's we got a line that's starting to melt right through here. This is part of the thicker ice as well. See, north of the North Pole. Look at that. And it's all in high melt. So I'll show you what happened this week. We'll go back to last Sunday, 10th. Here we were on the 10th. Here's the 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th. Look at that. 15th, 16th, and here we are today. So we'll turn our clouds back on and turn this off. And now we'll look at the satellite view. Here's Greenland. Look at this narrow strait. That ice is just moving through. See? And here's the Lincoln Sea. How this just went right back together, I just don't know. Because during the winter time up here, it was opened up a lot. So I just don't know how magically it just got put back together. see, here it is yesterday. But it is thinning down and ice is flowing out here. Look at the melting. So here we can see the melt in Greenland. So we saw the salmon color, this whole northern part. You can see it, kind of, here's the edge where it was melting, see? High melt. Look up here. Here's the coastline. Okay, we'll go back to today. Here's the Baffin Bay. Now this is open. If you see any ice, it's not going to be much. See, here it is yesterday. Look at this. It's just pretty much open. This isn't ready to melt fast. And coming down, this west coast of Greenland is open. See. There's a cloud. Let's go over. And there is just not much ice at all. Just a little bit here on this west side. But that's melting away. See, here it is. Yeah. Here we are today. Okay, this is the Hudson Bay. Got a big cloud over it. Here it was yesterday. Let's see. Okay, here it was on the 14th. We can see it's almost all ice-free, just a little bit around the southern part. Here we are today. Look at this. See? Look at all this open water. Oh, okay, here's the Beaufort Sea. Now, see, open water. And see, it's spreading out now. And there's beginning to be more room between the pieces of ice. And it'll just keep melting. All this water will be heating up. And just melting the ice. Here's Alaska. Here we are. Here's some more ice. Okay. Here's the Chukchi Sea. We've got a big cloud. Let's look at yesterday. More clouds. More clouds. You can see, though, how there's no ice in there. See? Look at Wrangell Island. Look over here. See, cut and paste. See, with the clouds, it's hard to imagine that there's no ice, but there's no ice here in this Bering Strait. See, look at that. Okay, let's move on. Here's Russia. Here's the East Siberian Sea. Here it is along the coastline where it's melting. See? Here's New Siberian Islands. There's a big open area of open water down here where the ears, with the ears that come down. Let's go back. See if you can see. See, that's open. See the green? That's algae. See, that's open. See, look. See how that's breaking up? That was on the 15th. Look at that, all the way down. So this is that patch that's north of the North Pole that we saw. That's blue on National Snow and Ice Data Center. Here it is today. Look at this. Now North Pole is right here. So, see, you can see through the clouds that there's open water in there. That is 88 degrees. Look at this. That's awful. Wonder how many expeditions are going to be sailing through here in August and September. Probably a lot. Here we go. We're back to Greenland. Let's take a look at Ellesmere Island. See, that's melting. Let's look at yesterday. Where was I? Oh, I was going to show you this. This is on the west side. This is just now starting to break up. See? And this is inside 80 degrees. Here's the 80-degree line. And see, it's breaking up. See that? And then clouds. Alright, I've got more to show. Let's see. Here's Svalbard, it's open. Here's the ice edge. See? This east ice edge. And here's where it's coming apart. Here's Franz Josef Land. It's open on this east side. See? Open, open. Here's the ice edge. See? And got a little bit coming up to the islands. Almost. Not much. So hard to... It's got a lot of clouds. Here we are yesterday, you can see. Back to today. Now, look at this. This is Novaya Zemlya. There's nothing, just a little bit of ice left up here. Look at this. That's open. So this whole Kara Sea, it's already in reds and pinks from what we saw on Climate Reanalyzer. Here's the Yamal Peninsula. See all the brown. That's open. All of this Gulf of Ob, that's all open now. And then we've got a little ice up here. That's melting fast though. See that? And here's Severnaya Zemlya. Here's Komsomolets, and it's all around here and in the North Kara Sea, where we're seeing the methane just out of control. It's just out of control now, all around this area. Trying to get a better view. Here it was on the 12th. See. It's been cloudy though. Yeah, there's some open. And then coming on around, here's the Laptev Sea. Look at all of that open water. There's the Taimyr Peninsula. Here's the ice. See? This is open. That's a cloud. Let's see how much is open. Hard to tell. So here's some ice. See, from a few days ago. A lot of open water. See, that's open. There's just a little there. Around. And back to this inside the 80-degree line. And that's it. Let's see if we can see a little more on this Beaufort Sea. Let's go back. Here's yesterday. Oh, I think that we got the best shots from the last couple of days. So there's that. Now we'll see what other earthquakes we want to see. We've got 280 right now. See these fives. 5.1 Pundong, Indonesia. 5.2 Gorontalo, Indonesia. Look, Africa. 4.8 Orkney, South Africa. Here's one in the Indian Ocean, 4.7, and so on. Here's this 5.6 Easter Island, and so on. Here's the South Sandwich Island, South Shetland, 4.9. So here's the Western Peninsula. Right down here is our A76 iceberg. Here's our earthquake. And then 4.8 South Sandwich Islands. And right down here over the Weddell Sea is the ozone hole. And then our Arctic earthquakes I showed you. And it's just still rocking, clustering here and there. We've got a new area that's been kind of clustering every day in Eureka, Nevada. We've got 8 here today, and these are 2s and 1s. We've had them, I don't remember what the largest one was there this week. 3 or 4, I think. So let's turn on 7 days all magnitudes. So this week we've had 2,035 earthquakes, and in addition to the 2 Arctic earthquakes we had today, here was a 4.4 north of Svalbard on the 11th, and a 5.2 in the Davis Strait. This happened on the 12th, and we can see that that's in the Baffin Bay, so that's sizable. It's just off the coast of Canada, and where we're coming into the Baffin Bay here. That was on the 12th. And we had this 6.4 off the coast of Chile, and over here quite a few in the Easter Island region. 9 here this week. 6.8 that came in on the 12th. So, and then we've had 5s and 4s since then. So this area has been rocking. And this whole west side of South America. We also had one Venezuela 5.4. That's it's kind of an unusual place. Ecuador 5.7 near San Borondon, and Puerto Rico, the Puerto Rico area, had 105 this week. That's a lot. And 4.0 at the Dominican Republic. And here in the South Pacific, see this Tonga, Fiji region has been active again. And 6.0 at Port Vila, Vanuatu. Look at all of this. It's just crazy. It's all over the place. 4s and 5s. Let's look at Alaska. Alaska's had 399 this week. And here in the U.S., 3 on the Juan de Fuca plate. Let's see. How many? Let's just look at Eureka, Nevada. 70 here this week. Look at that. So I'd say that this is an area that it could be a constant, just like we've seen with Ridgecrest and some other places. So I'm looking for the highest one. 3.1, 3.0, couple of 3.5s. So that's what we've had at Eureka this week. Let's look at Searles Valley Ridgecrest and see the movement's kind of spreading out. Bodfish had some larger ones, 3.5 and 3.8. At the Searles Valley and Ridgecrest area, 133 this week. That's a lot. Let's see. Mainly 1s and under. And then Southern California, they've had, let's see, about 308. And right down here, next to the Salton Sea, that started up again. Right down here, next to Salton City, 58, see. And Ocotillo Wells, they've had a bunch. Or Borrego Springs. So this whole area, like just from Salton City over to Borrego Springs, 96 in 1 week. So that's a lot. So everything's shaking, and they don't have to be big. I mean, eventually, if you have enough small ones, it shakes everything apart. And see, we had some down here, 4.5. This was at the north end of the Cocos Plate. 4.6, San Juanita, Mexico. And 4.0 off the coast of Baja. And so on. Look at this. Kansas, 3.7 near Superior, Kansas. And we had a couple up here. Lake Ontario, 2.4, Luna Pier, Michigan. 1.3 Lindenville, New York. 1.2 Brushton, New York. Here's one in the ocean. 2.7 off of Shelbourne, Canada. So on. So, just more of the same. That's my report for tonight. And then to bring it back to a spiritual focus, we're continuing to read out of the Book of Wisdom. This is from the Apocrypha. And this book was written by King Solomon. Wisdom, chapter 10. She preserved the first formed father of the world that was created alone, and brought him out of his fall, and gave him power to rule all things. And when the unrighteous went away from her in his anger, he perished also in the fury wherewith he murdered his brother. For whose cause the earth, being drowned with the flood, wisdom again preserved it, and directed the course of the righteous in the piece of wood of small value. Moreover, the nations in their wicked conspiracy being confounded, she found out the righteous, and preserved him blameless unto God, and kept him strong against his tender compassion toward his son. When the ungodly perished, she delivered the righteous men, who fled from the fire which fell down upon the 5 cities, of whose wickedness even to this day the wasteland that smoketh is a testimony, and plants bearing fruit that never come to ripeness, and a standing pillar of salt is a monument of an unbelieving soul. For regarding not wisdom, they gat not only this hurt, that they knew not the things which were good, but also left behind them to the world a memorial of their foolishness, so that in the things wherein they offended, they could not so much as be hid. But wisdom delivered from pain those that attended upon her. When the righteous fled from his brother's wrath, she guided him in right paths, shewed him the kingdom of God, and gave him knowledge of holy things, made him rich in his travels, and multiplied the fruit of his labors. In the covetousness of such as oppressed him, she stood by him and made him rich. She defended him from his enemies, and kept him safe from those that lay in wait. And in a sore conflict she gave him the victory, that he might know that goodness is stronger than all. When the righteous was sold, she forsook him not, but delivered him from sin. She went down with him into the pit, and left him not in bonds, till she brought him the scepter of the kingdom, and power against those that oppressed him. As for them that had accused him, she shewed him to be liars, and gave him perpetual glory. She delivered the righteous people and blameless seed from the nation that oppressed them. She entered into the soul of the servant of the Lord, and withstood dreadful kings in wonders and signs. Rendered to the righteous a reward of their labors, guided them in a marvelous way, and was unto them for cover by day, and a light of stars in the night season, brought them through the Red Sea and led them through much water. But she drowned their enemies and cast them up out of the bottom of the deep. Therefore the righteous spoiled the ungodly, and praise thy holy name, O Lord, and magnified with one accord thine hand that fought for them. For wisdom opened the mouth of the dumb, and made the tongues of them that cannot speak eloquent. Wisdom chapter 10. We're headed into very dark days, and the Bible tells us about these days in Revelation and also in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Jesus prophesied of these days, and he said, "Heaven and earth shall pass away, but my word shall not pass away." So he's everlasting, and God's kingdom is everlasting, that we can have hope of if we're born again. And I encourage you, if you haven't given your life to Jesus Christ, to do it, to be part of God's kingdom before it's too late, and to have His covering, and to have His protection and guidance. Without it, you'll just be at the mercy of whatever happens. So I love you all, and I'm praying for you. Hope you have a good week. Lord willing, I'll be here next Sunday. We'll do another update. Until next time, God bless you. Go in peace, and I will talk to you soon. Good night.